saying A's hire A's and B's hire C's because they're threatened or insecure or they just don't have the vision. And that's usually what it is. I do think the Bears should hire Mike McCarthy, and he is reportedly going for an interview tomorrow in Chicago. He'll be the 23rd person in the waiting room. I mean, the line at the DMV is shorter than the Bears job search. But I think he checks the boxes. Now, there's another story that Marcus Freeman, the brilliant young coach of Notre Dame, could be the coach. He could be Sean McVay, or he couldn't. But I trust brilliant people to make brilliant decisions and have vision. I trusted Stan Kroenke to spot the greatness in Sean McVay, hiring him at 30. I trusted Pat Riley to spot the greatness years earlier with Eric Spoelstra. I trust great to see great. I trust A's to hire A's. I don't trust B's and C's to do my hiring. And I don't trust the Chicago Bears to identify whether or not Marcus Freeman is going to succeed. Because if he does, he'll own the room. And I think there's lots of average people and insecurity in that room upstairs in Chicago. That is my take. So I don't trust. It's almost like when, a parent makes one of the kids executor of the will. It's the one they trust when they're gone. I just trusted Stan Kroenke's vision as the largest commercial real estate owner in the world. I just trusted his vision on McVay. He said he's smart. He's smart. Pat Riley was Spoelstra. I trust him. But Bill Parcells forever banged the table on Dan Campbell. He just kept calling owners and GMs, hire Dan Campbell. Parcells is one of the 3-4 best football coaches in my life. Mike McCarthy is a safer choice. That's all I trust the Bears doing. He will right the ship. It's very similar to if you're a professional poker player. Go for it. Do all-in bluffs. If it's your first weekend in Vegas, just play the percentages. The Bears should play the percentages.
Okay. There's a lot of analogies and comparisons flying around here in this one. Okay. I want to take this in a few different directions, but we'll just focus on the matter at hand with McCarthy. I may have shared this before, but I don't know. I had earlier on say, and I'm not doing a victory lap here. I'm just referencing this weeks ago, that they should, look into and hire McCarthy, because I do think it would be a good hire, because I do trust McCarthy's ability to right this ship. I don't think that McCarthy gets this team to being elite and special, and I don't know if I don't think you maximize Caleb Williams, but I think Mike McCarthy is good enough to make a team great. I think he's good enough to make players like a Caleb Williams great. Is he good enough to make good or great players into being elite, into being special? Probably not. Most likely not. But at the same time, the Bears just need stability. They need stability. They need to right the ship. And I do think that Mike McCarthy has a track record that he will be able to make and lead this team to actually legitimately be competing for division titles in the playoffs. They can actually do that. And any of the potential liabilities that you think Mike McCarthy has, maybe in big games, the playoffs, you should be able to, at this point, evaluate that, isolate that, and then correct it with other smart, high-level management decisions. If you want to say, he makes bad decisions, in the playoffs or this or that, again, then you bring in another offensive mind, you bring in another play call. There's just other things that you could potentially do. He's really hiring at taking care of defenses. Okay, you step in and say, we are getting an elite defensive coordinator. We're going to talk to what's-his-face, Eberflus, and say, you were a great defensive mind. We're sorry this didn't work out. but like, you know what? We're gonna have you as a defensive coordinator, you know, and we're gonna pay you for it. We think you're brilliant defensively. You had this defense humming along, and when you got fired, this defense went down and collapsed. You know, let's do it. Come on, man. Let's redeem this team. Let's go for it. Kind of an out of the box thing, but still something. And that's a made up scenario for Mike McCarthy in terms of defenses. I'm just trying to highlight that, you know, this is often a collaboration. But I just think that you would have a tremendous amount of success with Mike McCarthy. And, you know, let's be serious here. Aaron Rodgers, not easy to work with. We know that. History has not been kind to Aaron, especially from a personality standpoint. You know, that's a real thing. And if you ever listen to Greg Jennings, he has nothing but insane positives about Mike McCarthy, who obviously played for him, as well as Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott absolutely loves Mike McCarthy, and that's actually an important voice to be heard when Dak is saying, like, you know, Mike has made things so much easier for me. You know, Dak said a couple of years ago, especially when Mike McCarthy really took over, he was just like, I don't know how other, you know, the things that I'm doing with Mike, I don't know how other quarterbacks don't do this. Like, this is so easy now. You know, I don't understand how other quarterbacks actually play not doing this. And so that really is what Mike McCarthy can bring. Mike McCarthy, he might not be known as a quarterback whisperer, but he's definitely a quarterback friend. You know, he may not be the Andy Weed whisperer or the Kevin O'Connell whisperer, but, like, you know, he's definitely a close friend to them, and that is what Caleb needs. That is what Caleb needs, and I think Caleb needs someone who's also going to be supportive, but also, you know, also hold you accountable. And I think that is what Mike McCarthy brings. He brings kind of that, like, you know, that grandfather energy where it's kind of like, I got your back. I'm going to support you. I'm not going to, you know, leave you out to dry, but I'm also going to hold you accountable, man. I'm going to make sure that you know, you make the right moves. You know, I'm not going to just co-sign no matter what or enable you. Like, I'm going to have your back, but I'm also going to let you know when I think you mess things up. You know, when you need to go apologize to your father or whatever, you know, like, I'm going to let you know. And, you know, if your father's wrong, I'm going to let your father know. Like, that is the energy that McCarthy brings. And I think it could be tremendously valuable. Yeah, it's not the shiny, hot, you know, hire, right? It's not the new up and coming hot shot coach. Now, the drawback to all of that is the perception of Mike McCarthy. And I think at this point, Mike McCarthy leaving Green Bay, now leaving Dallas, and all of this, since he's not leaving on his own terms, he has the ability to lose a locker room very quickly. I think he has to just, unfortunately, and it's just the way it is, especially when you're talking about younger locker room, younger players, I don't think Mike McCarthy necessarily commands that unconditional respect. I bet you a lot of people think Mike is cheesy, which is why I think a lot of the cheesy players probably actually like him and identify with him. But any of the cool players, right? Like the real cool players who are like, man, I'm cool. I got a podcast. I do this. I do that. I got fancy cars. I have women and all this. Like, they probably don't connect with Mike. They probably don't. And you know what? It's like, those guys exist in the locker room too. Like, those guys are everywhere. I can be those guys sometimes, you know? So it's like, I get it, but it's just like, it's, you know, it's why the people who can kind of connect with people from all different walks of life with all different energies can kind of go a long way. And I'm not so sure. Like, again, Aaron Rodgers, too cool for school. Didn't connect with Mike. I know Micah Parsons kind of walked it back a little bit. Clearly did not get along with Mike McCarthy. And Micah Parsons is too cool for school, right? Again, name any of the nerdier. And I said that endearing. I said that in a positive. Just in live, when I said nerdy before, someone was like, oh, you know, someone so is not a nerd. And I'm like, no. I mean it as a positive, man. Like, I'm a nerd. Like, I mean it positively. You know, and I think, like, there's that potential for anyone that's kind of too cool for school could kind of just be like, man, I don't know what Mike's saying. Like, you can kind of just, like, overlook what he actually brings. And just think about it. Who wants to hang out with a grandfather? You know, when you're 25 years old, who's like, oh, I'm going to hang out with my grandfather. We're going to go to the movies together. Like, said no one ever. But that really nice, wholesome guy is like, yeah, I'm going to take my grandfather to the movies. It's going to be fun, you know? And it's just like, there you go. I think that's honestly, like, you know, a decent analogy, as cheesy and weird as it is. So it's funny because on one side, Mike McCarthy's a safe hire. On one side, it's also kind of a toss-up because of Mike McCarthy's reputation, how he's kind of at this point will now be floating around the league. There's that potential for the locker room just to be kind of like, if you don't get off to a hot start, or you don't, course correct very quickly, or if you face some adversity, there's potential for people to be like, nah, man, this ain't it. This ain't it. And everyone always just wants to point fingers. So ultimately, he would be, if there's any adversity throughout a season, even if it's not even the first year or the second year, Mike McCarthy would be the first person for people to look at. Would be the first person, especially as long as Caleb starts to play well. Especially if you just elevate Caleb just to be good or even great. Any type of adversity, any type of problems, it would just be immediately Mike. And when you have that automatic go-to target, it just makes it a little bit more fragile. It just becomes it's more of a water balloon than a rock, honestly. But I think if you can kind of remove yourself from all of that and you can just get a bunch of grown-ups in the room, Mike McCarthy clearly is a great, awesome hire. And I think you balance the ability to kind of create a culture, and as well as being, understanding how to, and this is what I talked about before in terms of elevating and developing a quarterback, but then also putting that quarterback in a position to succeed. I think Mike McCarthy can help develop Caleb Williams, but then also simultaneously put him in a position when it's in terms of in the game plan and adjustments. I think Mike McCarthy has proven to be able to do that. A lot of these other coaches have not shown to do that. Ben Johnson has not shown to be able to do that. He's brilliant at putting someone in a position to succeed, not necessarily developing and helping evolve a quarterback. So I think with Mike McCarthy, you kind of get the best of the both best of the both worlds in that situation. But also I understand why Chicago Bears fans would be lukewarm on this a little bit, because they're like, come on, man, I want to build something special. I want to build something elite. We have this ability to have Caleb and really just take on the NFL world by storm. And I think that's possible. But, sometimes it is. Colin talks about this. This is a step league. And, even if you just have Mike McCarthy for 3 years or something, you stabilize it, you elevate, you grow. Caleb Williams gets to kind of really get some experience and solidify himself as a true high level starting quarterback. And then who knows what's going on in the future? Who knows? Maybe Ben Johnson's going to be on his next job because he goes to Jacksonville Jaguars and that's a disaster. Or, I don't know. You just don't know where the future will bring. Or you have immediate success with Mike McCarthy and you don't look back. He did win a Super Bowl. The defenses did let down the Packers way more than the offense did. That's a real thing. The Dallas Cowboys absolutely came up short these last handful of years, but they lost to teams like the 49ers, to Shanahan, to teams that went to the Super Bowl. The Eagles outperformed them in 22, went to the Super Bowl, and it's just a significantly better roster, a better run franchise, quite frankly. So Mike McCarthy, I think the more you look back on his career, the more favorable people will look on him. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? How are you feeling about Mike McCarthy potentially being the head coach for the Chicago Bears? Do you think this is the best option for Caleb, for the Bears as a whole? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.